信西方有关心这样的新闻不是编出来的。让我知道美国 ICE 的机专营起码有数百个。我不相信美国的统治阶级真的有在乎人权。
More and more people here will seek reconciliation and closer ties with the mainland. At the end of the day, people here who are against this are led by false consciousness. I think it's important for people here to wake up to the reality that should war break out, the US will hang the people out here to dry.
Meet Zhang Yu, the rising anti-imperialist rapper, who not only embraces the heartbeat of Taiwan's youth, but also unravels the enigma of Taiwan.
好，可以再开始。And I think of myself as an information warrior of sorts, and music is just one weapon in my arsenal. I think Julian Assange once said something along the lines of, if wars can be started through lies, then peace can be started through the truth. And that's what I hope to do through my music. Most people in Taiwan have roots on the mainland at one point in time, and they don't really deny them, but how they make sense of this reality really depends on a lot of different factors.
But wait, what exactly is Taiwan? Where does it fit in the global puzzle?
Taiwan is located off the southeastern coast of the Chinese mainland, right across from Fujian province. And the majority of the people on this island are descendants of migrants from southern Fujian. Han people on the mainland have been in contact with and traded with the inhabitants of Taiwan for well over 1,000 years.
So, Taiwan has been part of China for centuries, yet the US and its allies are preparing for war with China over it. They are not the first foreigners trying to get their hands on the island.
在历史上，荷兰人来过，法国人来过，西班牙人来过，美国曾经也想来过，那最后他在他的支持底下，日本占领了台湾。
From the Sino-Japanese War to the end of World War II, Japan ruled the roost in Taiwan over 5 decades and ruthlessly with its familiar fascistic brutality. The West gloss over the horrors of Japanese fascist occupation, but no one in Taiwan will ever forget it. You would never have heard of Taiwan if it were not for the victory of the Chinese Revolution, led by Chairman Mao, and the final defeat of the Japanese. Chiang Kai-shek was the leader of the Chinese nationalists. His movement, the KMT, was at times united with Mao and in the struggle against Japanese occupation, but he turned against them, created civil war, and lost.
The United States was very much involved in the Chinese Civil War up to 1949, and the United States bet on the wrong horse. The nationalist government headed by Generalissimo Chiang Kai-shek was defeated on China's mainland, and they fled to Taiwan. The United States always supported the Taiwan government, and they didn't recognize the PRC government.
However, Taiwan's legal status was not in doubt. All the treaties concluded at the end of World War II recognized Taiwan as part of China. All the maps, all the institutions, and the United Nations too.
Following the founding of the People's Republic of China, the PRC's lawful seat at the United Nations had been unlawfully occupied by the Chiang Kai-shek regime. This state of affairs remained unchanged for 22 years, until October the 25th, 1971, when the United Nations General Assembly, Resolution 2758, recognized the PRC as the sole legitimate representative of China to the United Nations.
2758号决议的意义非常大啊，那么它意味着中国在国际上的这个外交承认啊，最终能够得以实现啊。那么这就解决了中国政府在国际上的合法性的这样一个大的问题。
During the Cold War, US-led efforts played with the idea of recognizing 2 Chinas, but even then they knew it could never fly.
The US real strategic goal was very clear. They want to prevent China's integration with the rest of the world. They do not want China to develop.
But then Washington made a turn. President Nixon, guided by the seasoned diplomat Henry Kissinger, broke its wings for good with his visit to China on February 21, 1972, and the conclusion of the One China treaties, in which, inter alia, a separate Taiwan was consigned to the memory hole. China was one. Beijing was its capital.
The three communiques between China and the United States form the foundation of China-US relations. The first communique was very important because the United States, they used the word acknowledge rather than recognize. They acknowledged that there is only one China and Taiwan is part of China. So Nixon's visit to China changed the world, and the world changed for the better because of Nixon's very wise and courageous decision.
Honduras belonged to that list for nearly 4 decades.
It is a blow to Taipei, with yet another country breaking off ties. The Honduran Foreign Ministry says it now recognizes the People's Republic of China as the only legitimate government that represents all of China, adding in its statement that Taiwan is an inseparable part of Chinese territory.
Throughout recorded history, then, it is clear Taiwan has been an integral part of China. The world increasingly recognized this in the aftermath of the Second World War. Now, almost everyone acknowledges there is only one China. The only real question is how and when Taiwan shall reunite with the mainland. Will it wait for the apple to fall from the tree, or for the tree to be shaken?
China raised three preconditions. One was to terminate the US-Taiwan diplomatic relations. The second, for the United States to withdraw all US troops from Taiwan. And the third was to abrogate the US-Taiwan Defense Treaty. Now, as a matter of principle, China will never allow any country to practice the true China policy.
Despite acknowledging the fact that there is only one China, the US maintains strategic ambiguity on Taiwan. American officials often use language or take actions designed to intentionally provoke China.
In Taipei, as the Speaker of the House arrives,
senior U.S. politician to visit Taiwan
historic
in
moment on
25
this
years.
trip that has sparked a lot of controversy.
We will not allow China to isolate Taiwan.
This visit by Nancy Pelosi was illegal, illicit, illogical, and inflicting huge damage to China-US relations. On the one hand, they say, yes, we still acknowledge the one China policy, there is no change. On the other hand, they keep working on hollowing out the real contents. They want to have a situation where the separatists in Taiwan can declare, we are already an independent country.
President Nixon had successfully reopened relations with China through the first communique in 1972. This was followed by the second communique under President Jimmy Carter, and in 1982, President Ronald Reagan completed the set of 3 communiques. These joint statements all essentially outlined the one China principle and the wish to reduce risk of international conflict.
I've written and you've been critical of the Biden administration's assault on the one China policy. It repeats that it's committed to one China policy, but then undermines it in a number of ways. And I think those of us here in the United States certainly have to be working to restore commitment to that policy and to be encouraging multi-level negotiations between Taiwanese and mainland Chinese and between the great powers.
Yet scarcely a day goes by without a US politician speculating on war with China over Taiwan, either from their own mouths or through their mouthpieces on TV and their hired hands in the fancy newspaper. This provocation doesn't stop at political rhetoric. The US has 800 military bases abroad, and mostly ringed around China. And their military men are propped for the job also.
The US surrounds China with foreign military bases and endless military aggression and military drills with other countries like Japan and South Korea and Australia doing military drills in right around China's territorial waters. So to portray China as the aggressor is absolutely bizarre, when I think China has the right to defend its territory against this imperial aggression.
Imagine, if you will, China supplying cruise missiles to separatists in Hawaii, Puerto Rico, Alaska, or Texas. Also, if the worst happens and a war breaks out, will the US muster all its political and military resolve to come to the aid of Taiwan?
Why the United States is doing this, why they want to sell more and more weapons to Taiwan? Because I think they want to instigate a proxy war. They want to have people from China's mainland and China's Taiwan province, who are both of the Chinese background and ethnic composition, to fight against each other. It's like asking brothers and sisters to fight among themselves.
Yet it appears that some Taiwanese leaders reside in a realm of wishful thinking. They proclaim their desires for independence and sovereignty with resounding vigor. The White House reacted with a degree of concern over Li's statement, seeking clarification from Taipei. The matter, we are told, has since been resolved, but the question lingers. Will the US champion these aspirations seeking to enforce Taiwan's sovereignty, even if symbolically?
This resembles a pattern in US foreign policy, where the US claims that they are acting in support of the people of Taiwan, acting in their best interest, when really they are using them as cannon fodder in their campaign of aggression against China, in their military expansion, in their never-ending seeking of war profiteering and benefiting the military-industrial complex in the US.
One of the things I've been doing is to encourage as many people as possible to read Kevin Rudd's book, The Avoidable War. It really lays out the potential danger that's there, the many ways that a war could happen, but it also points out ways that it can be avoided. I think through negotiations, a sense that is in no one's interest for there to be conflict, no one's interest for there to be a war. Everyone loses in a war.
Europe can't make up its mind on China either. On the one hand, the EU and China are each other's largest trading partners, and European leaders have been flocking to Beijing to meet with President Xi Jinping. There is a notable lack of popular support in Europe for disengagement with China, de-risking, decoupling, even less of actual war. And yet the European navies have followed the American Armada and are now far more likely to be found in the seas around China than steaming in their own waters. The EU's Foreign Minister, Joseph Borrell, declared that Taiwan was his, and indeed Europe's, freedom frontier, and called on the EU states to send their navies to the Taiwan Straits. The US is really dragging in its European counterparts along their war path. Like Liz Truss, the former Prime Minister of the UK, who lasted only around 40 days, but spent 5 days in Taipei, during which she proposed the creation of an Asian NATO to defend Taiwan. Liz Truss's successor, Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, visited Japan and declared China as, and I quote, the greatest danger to our security.
China poses the biggest challenge of our age to global security and prosperity.
Politicians in Taiwan, especially those pro-independence politicians in Taiwan try to bring the United States into the equation of relations across the Taiwan Strait. They falsely believe that if the United States support them, they could turn Taiwan into a separate, independent country with full sovereignty.
Darker still, when trust demanded Taiwan be covered by the American nuclear umbrella. All of this upping of the ante over Taiwan, of course, makes war, including nuclear war, more, not less likely. A time may come, perhaps soon, when China will decide that this Taiwan hedgehog is becoming a porcupine with deadly poisonous quills. The people of Taiwan have good reason to feel anxious about their future.
所以今天台湾想要脱离中国，要独立，他们唯一的靠山，以为可以支持他们完成台湾独立的这样的一个依靠，就是美国。所以蔡英文不只是欢迎，是根本是跪着求人家的这样的一个那个出卖民族的一种共同利益。
As we delve deeper into Taiwan's intricate tangle with the United States, one resounding truth emerges. Washington plays the role of chief provocateur, seemingly eager to stoke the flames in cross-strait affairs.
So they are pushing Taiwan to challenge, to cross the red line of the One China policy.
Yet, China's meteoric ascent on the global stage stands as its own formidable deterrent to such wayward ambitions. This shift in the global landscape hasn't escaped the attention of the Taiwanese people, igniting hopes for reunification and a brighter tomorrow.
那今天因为中国的和平崛起，带动了整个世界的新的格局跟新的世界秩序的形成。台湾人应该要把握这样的历史契机，能够改变这一种历史上的宿命，这样子呢，作为台湾居民才能够世世代代的在这里长居久安，台湾的人才智慧才能够取得有效的发展。
中国大陆的崛起，以及全世界有越来越多的地方都在跟中国做贸易，然后以及跟他们合作。那未来其实台湾真的是一个选择，就是说，如果你跟着美国，那确实你就会越来越走向一个边缘，然后与世界脱节的一个状态。那如果跟两岸未来和平的一起发展，那其实会是一个跟全世界各个国家一起越来越欣欣向荣。我是乐观的啦，就那个乐观是在于说，一个世界更和平的环境应该会到来。那我觉得台湾未来也可以跟对大陆是和平相处，那甚至是朝向一个就是统一的方向这样子。
A heightened recognition of a shared destiny, indeed, sweeps through the landscape. This understanding holds the potential for a path forward that's drenched in harmony rather than discord.
The choice before Taiwanese people is to negotiate how to achieve unification peacefully, or to be a chess used by the United States to combat with Chinese men. War can be avoided if the United States can respect that the Taiwan question should be resolved peacefully by the Chinese ourselves.
The future can be so much brighter than this. Maybe the people of Taiwan will call a halt to treason, knock the American umbrella out of their hands, reaffirm their one Chinese identity. But in any case, this is a matter for the people of China alone. Maybe, well, we need to keep our nose out of what is, in the end, a tale between the Chinese mainland and Taiwan.
When we say somebody is a 中国人, that means this person is from the country of China, whereas if someone is 华人, it means they're from the broader Chinese civilization. Now, with the exception of hardline separatists here in Taiwan, most people here still identify as Huarren. As the Chinese mainland keeps on developing and the quality of life and opportunities for the youth continue to improve over there, more and more people here will seek reconciliation and closer ties with the mainland. At the end of the day, people here who are against this are led by false consciousness. I hope to see Taiwan not being used as a bargaining chip by foreign powers in their negotiations with Beijing. And I hope that the people here and on the mainland build more bridges and have more good faith contact with one another